Welcome to the new show, The Divorce Game. This is an informative show for parents and their children who are going through divorce. It is an opportunity to inform parents about new rules that will ensure that their children are not losers in this game, but winners and always winners. I am your host, and I'm delighted to be your host. My name is Pamela Elaine Nichols, and I am a relationship coach. I have gone through my own drama and game of divorce and thought that this would be a great opportunity to share with families how they can have healthier relationships as they go through divorce and move beyond divorce with their children. I am so excited to have a very special guest who is helping me launch this show. He is Marty Matika, and Marty, hello Marty, is an inspirational speaker. He is a therapist, he is a coach, and a best-selling author. What makes Marty unique as a guest for me today is that Marty was a child of divorce, and now as an adult, he has an interesting and fresh perspective on how parents can play the game of divorce in a way that helps their children win. So today we're going to have a little fun together, Marty and I. Are you ready for fun, Marty?
Yes, I am.
I'm going to ask Marty some questions that are game-like, and Marty is going to answer them, all in the spirit of informing you, parents, and hopefully you, children, who are watching and listening, how to become winners in this game. So Marty, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm so glad to have you here with me. Marty, you and I have known each other for several years. We met through the Landmark Forum. Well, we didn't meet there, but we have that commonality of the Landmark Forum. And you and I, Marty, you and I, we were also co-chairs of Make Divorce Healthier Symposium, which was a wonderful turnout, all about helping therapists, financial advisors, attorneys, the whole gamut of the spectrum of people who are dealing with divorce to have a new perspective of how to make it healthier. So you and I are partners in crime, so to speak, and I'm so delighted to have you here with me.
Thanks so much.
So are you ready for some questions, Marty?
I am ready.
Okay, so I've written some questions down, and as I said, opening the show, this is to offer parents new rules in the divorce game so that children win. So Marty, you know, there are always winners and losers in a game, and unfortunately, children are the losers in the game of divorce. So my first question to you is, what is the name of the game you would give to your parents' divorce? Now, here are some options. The popular parent game, the victimized parent game, who makes more money game, I can't take it anymore, who's the favorite child, I parent the way I want, who's the worst parent. Any of those resonate with you, or do you have your own game name that you would give to your parents' divorce?
Well, similar to who's the worst parent, I think it was who was the better parent, right? And playing that game about who's the better parent.
Ah, okay, very good. So, so game implies competition, and every competition has rules. So, Marty, from your perspective, what were the unspoken rules of your parents' the better parent game?
Yeah, I think there was a fight to try to win favor in some ways. My mom was definitely the better player in the game, and I don't think my dad was as active of a player.
Oh, explain what you mean by that.
So growing up, after my parents got divorced, I was about 4.5, 5 years old, and it was a very, very challenging time. And after the divorce went down, it was a very hard divorce. We ended up moving in with my mom, and my dad ended up moving out. So I was with my mom a lot. She had primary custody of us. So the way she would deal with it a lot was to just do a lot for us. She wanted to, I don't know if she was playing to be the better parent, but that's what it seemed like as a kid, trying to do everything for us, take us out, help us with homework, give us everything we needed, especially because we only had one parent in the house. So, and my dad was a little more disengaged. He kind of was letting my mom be the better parent, win that game, if that was the game they were playing. And as a child, that's what it felt like.
That's what it felt like.
And what's interesting is I even had that as a child myself. I remember saying to my parents, I will be a better kid if you stay together. Now, again, this is a 5-year-old's mind.
That's very insightful.
Right? That it's like, I'll be a better kid. Now, we know as adults that a kid has nothing to do with a divorce, right? But in a kid's mind, a lot of times they go there.
Yeah.
It's my fault. I'm bad. Let me be better. So
Yeah.
I tried talking to both of them about that, and they both turned down my request. And it was just like, no, honey, we just have to get divorced. This is where it's at. I appreciate what you're saying, but it was really about better.
Yeah,
better, even
parent.
for me as a child.
Well,
trying
while
to be
she was
better.
trying to be better in this game, did you see her as being the better parent?
I did
You
for a
did.
very long time because she was the one that was there. She was the one that was mostly involved. I would see my dad like every other weekend, so it wasn't as involved. And when I needed stuff, my mom was always right there. My dad was a phone call away, but my mom was winning the game of being the better parent because she was doing almost everything for us at that time, and we needed a lot.
Yeah, so let me just ask you this other question before we go into
Yeah.
the rest of the game questions. Did you have any resentment towards your father that he was disengaged, as you say, and wasn't playing the game the way that your mother was playing the game?
Yeah, it's almost like my mom's a very strong personality and an amazing woman. My dad almost gave up, and I did have some resentment where he just kind of backed off and was just like, in my mind, let your mom do what she's doing, and, you know, I'm here if you guys need me. But yes, I definitely had resentment that he wasn't there as much as my mom.
Yeah, I think you've already kind of addressed some of the other questions that I have coming up here, but let me go ahead and ask them.
Yeah.
So, what were, from your perspective, the unspoken rules of the game? As we know, in every game there are rules.
Yeah.
What would you say were the unspoken rules in the Better Parent game?
So in a Better Parent game, I would say the unspoken rules are who's going to do more, right? Who's going to prove they're the better parent.
Yeah.
So my mom would do a lot to win that game and prove to us she was the better parent, and definitely won that game for a long time.
Yeah.
So it was unspoken in the activities or the things she would do.
Yeah.
Was an unwritten rule to win the better parent trophy.
Yeah,
for lack
because
of a
after
better
all,
word.
your parents didn't discuss the rules of the game. You know, maybe your mother made up those rules.
And that's where I was going to say, I'm pretty sure my mom designed the rules, made the rules, and my dad lost in the game and kind of took himself out of it. And it was...
And that doesn't suggest that your mother was a bad person. I mean, this is what we do as parents, and I can speak from personal experience. We're not trying to be bad parents. It's not our goal, and even though we make up our own rules, it's in a way we're trying to save ourselves too.
Yeah.
We really are trying to. It feels like a sinking ship, and you've got to find some way to survive.
Yeah. And I think they were both doing the best they could.
Yeah.
Right? And I don't think either one of them was bad. They were just operating differently because it's a new world.
It's a
Nobody
new
signs
world.
up to get divorced or separated.
Exactly.
And then you're in this new world, and how do we play this new game? So
Yeah.
they both had to design their own rules for the
Yeah.
new game. And
yeah. So maybe your father was playing the game too, in a way, you know?
They definitely was.
Who can be the most disengaged parent right now, right? It's possible he had his own game, his own rules.
Yep.
Okay, that's really helpful. Okay, let's go to the next question. So how were the players, meaning you do have a sibling.
Yeah, my younger brother.
Your younger brother. How were you all informed of the game rules?
It wasn't a spoken rule,
Okay.
like you said. Like, my mom wasn't going to be like, I'm going to be the better parent to you and Nick, my little brother.
Yes.
So it was more just, here's the game.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be the better parent, and I'm going to show you it. But we were never informed.
Yeah.
We were just informed of the
Participants.
divorce and, participants in a
participants.
game that we didn't even know we were playing as young kids at 5 and 2.
Do you think your brother saw this as a game?
He was even
Had a
younger.
perspective. How much younger?
So he was only 2 at the time.
Oh, okay.
So he's even younger than me. He was almost a baby toddler at that type of stage. So I don't think he saw it as much as I did.
That makes sense. Okay. All right. So let's move on to, as I said, in every game there are winners and there are losers, and you've already told us who the winners were in the parents' game. Your mother was the winner in this game, and that your father was the loser in this game. But who else were the losers?
Well, definitely me and my brother,
let's
they
talk
were
about that.
because they were playing a game to be the better parent, which is competition, right? And it's a win-lose scenario.
Yeah.
So if one parent loses, then the kids usually lose as well, because it's important when your parents get divorced that you have a relationship with both parents, and not one is the greatest ever and one is not good. It's to try to find a balance in there, although it's not easy, especially when there's a divorce going on. And I was just the recipient, the kind of victim of the situation, as kids are.
Would you be willing to share a little bit more about how you were the victim in this? Like, you have a very specific, unique story about it. Can you share it with us?
Yeah, sure. So I just remember at 4 and a half, My mom and dad were in a big fight. I came downstairs. My mom was just yelling and extremely upset and crying. And then she ran upstairs and my dad walked out back and he was completely distraught. And I just remember talking to him and like, what's going on? And he's just like, I have to leave. I have to leave. I'm like, Dad, please don't. I'll be a better kid. I'm so sorry. Like, so I tried to talk him into it for a long time. He's like, I got to do this, son. It has nothing to do with you. But as a kid, you don't hear that. It has everything to do with you. And then going up to see my mom, bawling her eyes out, saying the same thing to her, Mom, please. She's just like, we have to do this, honey. There's like nothing you can do about it. I'm sorry. But it was just so hard to try to get them to stay in the marriage game and then fail at that as a kid.
And so what was the outcome for you? Like, what happened in your life as a result of this game that they played?
Yeah, it's interesting. I had for a very long time, and maybe even some residue still today, of not being good enough, right? Because as a 5-year-old, I felt I wasn't good enough to keep them together. I wasn't a good enough kid. I even remember that night crying myself to sleep and even like begging God, like, please, I'll be a better person, whatever, just keep them together. So when that didn't come to fruition, I started to feel that I was not good enough. Again, I didn't realize that till later in life, but that was an underlying theme in the background.
Yeah. How did that play out, not good enough in your life? What
Not good enough. I had to try to win at everything. I had to try to overcome the I'm not good enough by overcompensating. I had to be the best in sports, the best in school. I would try to dominate my brother and beat him in everything, and I would get pissed when I would lose to him. I would like flip a board game. It was like I had to win at everything and be the best was how I compensated, which was such a struggle in itself and pressure packed, and it's just I have to be the best.
Did you have a lot of anger?
A ton.
That came out too?
Yeah, but it was more, I was more shut down. This is one of the things.
So you internalized it.
Totally internalized it, where my brother was a little bit more vocal about it. For me, it was an internal thing. And one of the reasons I went internal and some kids go internal is because you see your parents already in a ton of pain. You don't want to add to it by sharing your pain with them. And there's the other side is that they put you in this situation. So there may be some anger as well that I'm in this situation because you two couldn't get along. So it's kind of a twofold thing why I didn't share with them, why I started to get shut down and try to cope with it myself, which doesn't work well for kids. They don't have coping skills.
So once you found yourself angry and you overcompensating and not feeling good enough, and you really have a sense of what was going on, the dynamics that were going on. Did you at any point want to help your father better understand the game rules so that he could play differently? And if he played differently, maybe that would have made you feel better?
Yeah, definitely. But it would be like, let's try to do some more things together. I'd try to push him in our time to do more things like my mom was doing, because she was always doing stuff with us to take care, So I would try to push my dad. He was just a little bit more disengaged. And, sometimes he would get on and we would go do something fun. Other times he'd be like, no, we're just hanging out here for the weekend. But I would try to, as a kid, to get him to be more engaged and to do more like my mom was doing.
And part of me is curious about, well, if your mother was playing the game so well, at least one parent was playing the game well, why couldn't that have been enough for you?
Because you really need both parents, right? One parent is great, even if they're the most amazing parent, but there's this part of us that we need both people. As long as one's not like a sociopath or some convicted pedophile, it's important to have both of them in our lives because they contribute different things. I mean, I'm married now. I have an almost 7-year-old daughter, and me and my wife, we parent differently. We bring different things to our daughter, where I'm a great parent, so is she, and we give different things. So just one person, you only get half of it. Plus, we're also half of both parent as well. So biologically, we're half of them too. So it's important to have that influence in some way. It doesn't have to be 50-50 all the time, but it's important to have that parent, both parents in your life.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And even if the good parent, the more involved parent, thinks that the other uninvolved parent is not a good parent, that's not how the children see it.
Not at all.
They still want a relationship, whether or not the other parent has an issue with who they are or their integrity or their quality. It doesn't matter. The kids want to be with both parents.
Kids love their parents more than anything. They're their role models growing up. They love them. So no matter what's going on with the two parents, the kid wants a relationship with both. They're the role models. It's who we want to be when we grow up.
And you're not suggesting that because your father was more disengaged, that caused the problem, that caused your
No.
breakdown,
Yeah,
that caused your
definitely
not gonna. It was that both of them weren't playing the game together and
Well
weren't
said.
playing it well.
Well
It was
said.
imbalanced.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I just want to make sure because I'm a mom, as you know, of 4 kids, and I've gone through a divorce, and I think a lot about the game that I've played and the game that the father has played. And one of the things that I've learned through 6 years of being divorced is how it hurts the children to demonize the other parent.
Well
It
said.
really affects their emotional well-being.
Yep.
And for the parent who really wants to help nurture the well-being of their child, one of the things that they have to stop doing is demonizing the other parent.
Well said. That is one of the biggest things that parents can fall down a trap because they're very upset with the other person on the other side, and it's totally fine. I understand the emotion, but go talk to a therapist, a relationship coach, somebody in your family, a brother, a sister, a parent. Find other ways to get it out without having the child kind of be drugged through that.
Yes.
Because again, remember, they love both parents. They look up to both of them. So if one parent says something negative about the other parent, it hurts the child because they're part of that parent. They love that parent.
Yeah.
And you're saying something bad about them.
Yeah. That leads to the next game question, and you're playing so well, Marty. All right,
games.
so I want you to go back to you as that 5-year-old child, all right, in your parents' divorce, and you are now in charge. You are now the one who gets to set the rules, to define how the game is played, and what the name of the game is. So now that you're in a new position, Marty, as the 5-year-old child, what are the rules of the game and what are the penalties if the mother and the father do not play by the rules of your game?
Okay, so I would say the top couple of rules would be, number one, the children come first.
So what does that mean?
So put the children's needs above your own in that situation, like you were using with the demonizing thing.
Yeah.
There's no reason to do that. All you would be trying to do is win favor with the kids, but you're hurting them along along the way. So you want to put their needs first and find another way to vent that stuff out instead of dragging them through it. So putting their needs first would be number one rule.
Number one rule. Put the children's needs first.
Put the children's needs first. Number two would be communication.
Well, let's go back to that, which suggests that you have to know what the children's needs are. And we don't just mean providing food and shelter.
Right.
Those are needs, but there are other needs, emotional needs, spiritual needs that the children have, and you must know what those are. And let me just add this piece too. One of the things that I discovered in terms of needs is that all 4 of my children have different needs based on their language of love. Are you familiar with the 5 languages of love? What I had to learn was what was the different language of each child so that I could meet their language need in this divorce game that I was also playing. And that made a difference. So I would want all the parents who are listening to at least know what your child's love language is. Google it and find out so you can meet that need. Because my one child needs words of affirmation. Another child needs acts of service. They're all different. There's 3 more. Quality of time.
Right.
And one of my youngest needs physical touch. She loves to be hugged and kissed. Those are very different need levels that I had to understand and meet. So I just wanted to.
Yeah, and I love that. I think it's Gary Chapman that writes that book. It's helpful in any relationship, but definitely with your kids because they need to be loved growing up. That's their top need.
Yes.
The safety and security, that's great, but they need to be loved.
Do. In their own way.
In their own way, and everyone views love in a different way.
Absolutely.
So I really think that's a great book. Actually.
Okay, you were going on to your
number
second rule. Yes.
Communication.
Okay, what does that mean?
The parents communicating, finding a way to communicate with the other one. So what I say is the top level would be face-to-face, but if not, then you do it on phone call. If not, you do it through text and email. If not, you go to a managed communication system like Our Family Wizard or one of them, but finding a way to communicate. Because if you're not communicating with the other side, rules are different in each house. There could be chaos. Something could be going on with a school test or pickups, and just finding a way just to be able to communicate. Not that you have to like the other person on the other side, but to communicate again for the kids. They need the parents to be as close to the same page as possible.
So when you say communicate, Marty, do you mean like we communicate? but it's not always that nice.
Right.
So are you talking about be nice or be cordial?
Well, be
and communicate?
business-like.
Okay.
Is what
Okay,
more
I
and
like
more.
that.
It's like almost like you're working with an employee you don't like,
Okay.
but you're not leaving the job, and that employee's not leaving. So you got to find a way to communicate to get projects and work done. You may not like the other person that you work with, but you have a big project at hand raising these kids.
Yeah.
So it's about communicating it, make it more informational, make it more business. If there's a lot of dislike between the two parties, just find a way to get pertinent information across. So again, communicating.
Do the children, in your new rules, is it important that the children see their parents communicating, or you don't even need to see that they're communicating? You just know that they are because things are getting done and answers are getting resolved, problems are getting resolved.
So ideally, it would be great to see them. One of the things kids of divorce love to see is their parents get together.
So true, I know.
I mean, it like
That's so
melts
true.
their heart, especially if it's been a tough divorce and there's a lot going on. It melts their heart. So, yes, it would be definitely. But if you cannot do that where you can get together, because each divorce and separation is different, finding a way to communicate behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Because kids are very intuitive. They know what's going on, whether you're saying it or not. It doesn't matter. They are intuitive, they understand you, they're smarter than you think. So you may think that like, oh, I'm kind of keeping this communication, they're listening through the walls, they're, they're eavesdropping, they are all over the place, so finding a way.
You're so on point about that. My kids have called us on the carpet many times about our communication and lack thereof. So you're right. Okay.
So number three, though. Number three, most important one, and the one my grandpop told me before he passed away on why him and my grandmom had such a great relationship for 70 years. And this is not about marriage, but compromise. Especially in this situation, as co-parents, you're not going to get everything you want. You're just not. You have to find a way to work a little with the person on the other side. Maybe give them some things that don't matter as much to you, and hopefully you can build a little goodwill. But it's compromise. Each parent in this situation will not get everything they want. Even two parents in the same household don't get everything they want. So definitely in this situation, finding a way to compromise.
And does that also include finding a way to negotiate?
Sometimes I go interchangeable with those two words, right? Compromise, negotiate. Like you have to find a way to make it work and realize you're not always going to get your way.
Yeah, let's grow up in that area.
Yeah.
Why don't we as parents? You're not going to always get your what. You're not going to always get You're just not. And we need to be comfortable with that because again, we're going back to the point you made earlier. What's in the best interest of the kids?
Yep.
And if you have to give up something that you want or that way that you're demanding for the best interest of the kids, then you just got to do it.
You got to do it. And even if you are a super parent of everything, and they still need that other parent. There's still things that other parent can teach them that you can't.
Yeah. Well, I see our time is running out. So let me ask you, what would be the penalty for breaking your 3 rules?
Yeah, so breaking the, you are damaging your child. You are hurting them. You can create depression, anxiety. I mean, my gosh, even in extreme examples, suicide, like going down that road, drug addiction. There's so many things where you're setting your kids up to fail in life. That's the penalty. Instead of setting them up to win. Try to make this a win-win-win relationship. Because if it's win-lose, not only does that one parent lose, but the child loses as well. And again, to get it win-win-win, there's got to be a little compromise, a little negotiation, a little working with one another. Otherwise, you will damage your kids. That's the penalty. And as parents, we just want to raise our kids to be the most amazing human beings ever. So if you realize that's the cost, that you're going to hurt them, it's a huge penalty.
You know, if I could add a rule to your rule.
Yeah, please.
That's come up for me. It would be you must personally develop. You must grow yourself. Take courses like we talked about earlier. Read books. Do workshops. Develop yourself. Because then if you work on you, you will automatically make your relationships better with your kids.
I love that. I love that. I do, because especially in this situation, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of upset. You're on your own as a parent. It's a perfect time to try to grow and develop yourself just to be a better parent, to be a better person in life. It's a perfect time because it's a hard time.
Marty, I am so delighted that you came to be my first guest on this show. Can you please tell us how we can reach you and you know, any last words you want to say to children watching this show and their parents?
Yes. So my website, life-circles.com, if you reach out to me through there, I can get a free 15-minute consultation with you. And for the kids out there, I want you to know that it will be okay, that this is a game in some ways, and you will be okay in the end. Because a lot of times people focus on the damage that divorce causes, but there's also great qualities that kids get from being in this situation. They become more independent, more responsible, more mature. So for the kids out there, you will get through it. And for the parents, the children come first. Do it for the kids. Find a way to work with that other parent, no matter how much you like or dislike them.
Thank you so much, Marty. And Marty is one who is a great example of a kid who got through it because he's doing amazing work in the divorce space. Thank you so much for watching today. And please tune in next time when I'm going to have another guest who's another adult child of divorce. And she is now about to give birth to another child. So please join us next time, and we'll see you then.